Thousands of officers from around the country paying the highest tributes to two fallen brothers.
I'm Ted Wayman, live in Bridgewater, where the search for two prison escapees continues.
Also an anxious weekend for Bay State communities, waiting to hear which military bases will be closed by the Pentagon.
Now, Casey Kaufman, Barry Burbank, Bob Newmeyer. Now, live, this is WBZ News 4.
A state police helicopter flies over the funerals of two fallen troopers. It's a tough loss for an agency hit hard in the past year. Good evening, I'm Casey Kaufman. A sea of blue uniforms, an incredible outpouring of emotions. For the first time ever, Massachusetts State Police buried two of their own, two troopers killed in a helicopter crash on the Charles River. Air Wing pilots James Mattaliano and Paul Perry are the fourth and fifth troopers killed in the last 6 months. As WBZ's Bill Shields reports, their colleagues will not forget them.
They both wanted nothing more than to help people, to make this small corner of the world a better place for the rest of us. In Salem, the family and friends of Trooper Paul Perry wrestled with their grief. And in Milton, on this bright day, it was nonetheless clouded with the same grief. Here, Perry's partner, Jimmy Mattaliano, was laid to rest.
Jimmy loved his work as a trooper. He achieved his dream of becoming a pilot. He was so dedicated and very serious about his responsibilities.
It is somehow hard to believe that two more state police officers had to be buried.
My first reaction was to scream out and say, God, not again, God. What are you doing to us?
While federal investigators struggle to find answers to the crash, there were no answers here, only questions.
But he really enjoyed the job. He took flying lessons on his own. Something he dreamed about. And when he got the opportunity to join the Air Wing, it was a lifelong dream and something that we said, he got the best job in the world.
But they were more than troopers and pilots. They were husbands and fathers and sons. Paul Perry and Jim Mattaliano wanted only to make a difference. In Milton, I'm Bill Shields, WBZ News 4.
Two AT&T engineers killed in the crash were also laid to rest today. Hundreds attended funerals for Arthur Howell of Malden and Michael McCarthy of Weymouth. Some 700 people came to St. Bridget's Church in South Boston to pay respects to Howell, a 29-year veteran of AT&T. Family, friends, and colleagues also mourned Michael McCarthy in Weymouth. Members of the state police also paid their respects today. The investigation into Wednesday's crash is expected to take months. Inspectors are focusing on the chopper's flight controls as a likely cause of the crash. Lots of concern in...
It's on to Milton, where they honor Trooper Jimmy Mattaliano.
Today, people throughout Massachusetts are in mourning, grieving the loss of Trooper James Mattaliano and the other 3 men who died with him.
I love them very much. I don't know why this had to happen. I just have to believe that he's in a safe, peaceful place.
James Mattaliano, 33 years old, a 12-year veteran, the son of the retired Milton police chief. His brother is a state trooper. So is his widow. This sad but impressive tribute is as much for them as it is for him.
It's the final compliment that we can give to our departed brother, and show him that we love him, and the show of camaraderie that you see definitely helps in the grieving process.
Tears flow as for the second time today a lone bugler sounds taps. A state police helicopter flies over, and another trooper's widow is presented the American flag. It has been a long, sad day. I'm Mark Weil, 7 News.
I'm Gary Armstrong in South Boston, where a funeral mass was held for 47-year-old Arthur Howell, one of 2 AT&T Customs Service engineers killed in the state police helicopter crash. Howell, 29 years with AT&T, is remembered with rare affection for a man who worked for such a large corporation. But he touched many lives on and off the job, as close friend John Staphos related in a halting, emotional eulogy.
Excuse me for a second. Artie, you were much richer than you know because of all these people that you've touched. You're just a generally warm and wonderful person.
As they said goodbye to Artie Howell, his 9-year-old son and the boy's mother clung to each other, while friends and co-workers eased each other. A marked contrast here in South Weymouth, where services are held for Michael McCarthy, the other AT&T engineer killed in Wednesday's helicopter crash. No formal funeral mass here. Instead, a private prayer service for the immediate family and a viewing for McCarthy's close friends and co-workers. With state police on hand to ensure the McCarthy family's privacy, neighbors and friends filed in, quietly recalling Mike McCarthy, quote-unquote, as a super guy who, despite a busy schedule, always had time for his 4 children. And like Artie Howell, Mike McCarthy was a 29-year man at AT&T before Wednesday's ill-fated helicopter trip. Those who know say he loved flying in that chopper. In South Weymouth, Gary Armstrong, 7 News.
And still the question, why? Federal investigators are still trying to find out what caused the crash. The helicopter wreckage is being examined by piece in a hangar at Logan Airport. So far, investigators have ruled out a fuel problem. Now the probe is focusing on possible flight control failure or possibly a transmission problem. Stay with 7 News for all the latest on the chopper crash and the ongoing investigation. We'll bring you all the developments as they happen.
You're watching WCVB-TV, New England's television news leader. This is News Center 5 at 6.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Anthony Everett.
And I'm Pam Cross. It was a day state troopers won't soon forget.
A sea of blue filled the streets of 2 communities today as colleagues bid a final farewell to 2 of their fallen brothers, killed along with 2 AT&T workers when their helicopter crashed in Cambridge on Wednesday.
We start in Salem at the funeral of 39-year-old trooper Paul Perry. Ron Gollivan was there.
The body of Trooper Paul Perry was carried to St. Joseph's Church by his fellow officers, friends, and family, with his widow and 2 young sons walking behind. Flanking on either side is a casket pass where the straight lines of policemen from as far away as Michigan and Indiana gathered in a now familiar ritual of farewell. Trooper Perry was an Eagle Scout, lawyer, and pilot, and he was never happier than when he was flying. When the funeral mass was over, Governor Well presented Trooper Perry's son, Michael and Scott, with 2 flags, which they clutched to their chests. A little more than 30 miles to the south, a similar procession was assembling to honor Trooper James Mattaliano, who died with Perry in the first fatal state police helicopter crash. Mattaliano was the son of a police officer, brother of another trooper, and husband to still another.
Massachusetts has now lost one of its best young troopers and skilled pilots.
He was my brother. He was the uncle to my children. He was the godfather to my son. I loved him very much.
The State Police Air Wing is a small family within a family, only 8 members. Through good weather and bad and sunshine and darkness, they flew their mission, saving lives, often at the risk of their own. And so it came to this, 2 funerals on the same day, a flyover from their beloved air wing. Family and friends left to puzzle it out in the midst of grief, with only their faith and each other for solace. Rank upon rank of somber men and women passed in silent salute to the brothers in blue. Sweet dreams and flying machines in pieces on the ground. In Milton, I'm Ron Golubin, News Center 5.
The troopers, of course, were not alone on that helicopter when it went down. 2 AT&T engineers were also killed.
A state police honor guard led the way today as hundreds turned out for their funerals in South Weymouth and South Boston. A lone bagpiper stood at attention as the body of 47-year-old Arthur Howell was carried into St. Bridget's Church in South Boston.
This tragic thing that's happened, I think we should all look to our friends a little bit more, say hello to a friend, talk to a friend a little bit more often. Because it's so fast that in the blink of an eyelash, they're gone.
Artie Howell was a 29-year veteran of AT&T. Dozens of AT&T employees and company cars and vans attended the service. Many wept openly and embraced. Howell leaves a son, David.
You are our champion. You take with you our love. Your being is perpetually with us.
In South Weymouth, family and friends assembled for a late afternoon wake for 46-year-old Michael McCarthy. A private prayer service, which was closed to outsiders, followed. McCarthy leaves a wife and 3 children. He had worked for AT&T nearly 3 decades. And this evening, the cause of Wednesday's accident is still undetermined.
Other news now, the search continues tonight for 2 prison escapees in Bridgewater who are also suspects in a home invasion.